Hi guys, welcome back to the video. So I have my phone out of its case, so hopefully that will help with the audio. I know a lot of my videos are terrible audio quality, so I don't know what's going on. But I do want to apologize if my audio is terrible. So thought I'd make a quick video. I'm currently watching the trial for Derek Chauvin, which I believe that's pronounced correctly. He's a police officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck during the, I'll call it altercation, I believe. That's not the right word, but it'll work. George Floyd, altercation, basically, and it led to his death. And, not gonna lie, it's really hard to watch right now. I am mixed race, so my mom's white, my dad's black, or African American, as people like to say. And also, my dad was a reserve police officer, which is like a volunteer police officer, sort of. He's also a volunteer firefighter at one point. And so, I see both sides. I see the point of having to, the police officer. There's a large guy, either black or white, doesn't matter, large guy, and he's coming, he could attack you, you don't know. He's on drugs, which I'm gonna be honest, I would be afraid. I would be afraid if there was a person who was on drugs, who clearly, was larger than me. I don't know the height of George Floyd or the height of the officer. But if I was a police officer and I got a call and there's like, hey, this guy, possibly on drugs, whatever he did, possible counterfeit money, because I think it was counterfeit money. He had a $20 bill that they thought was counterfeit. Excuse me, I would be afraid too. However, I watched the video and it's not audio described, so sometimes it's hard to tell what's going on. But I kind of wish they would audio describe it. That'd be nice. Anyway, it's terrible because, he was already on the ground. George Floyd was already on the ground. The officer, they pushed him, and he was on the ground. The officer had his knee on his neck, and it was so long. He had stopped resisting, and he still kept his knee there. And in my mind, I'm like, why? Why don't you let go? Let him go. Just let him breathe. And I know that, a lot of times people will say to officers or whoever, I can't breathe, let me up, I can't breathe, just so they can, bolt. But I'm sorry, I can't speak. I was born blind, and so I'm pretty good at understanding people's voices, and, I'm not super great, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're lying, but, I can tell the difference between someone who's calm and who's not calm. George Floyd was not calm. He was obviously panicked because he can't breathe. What the heck? And so, just the idea that the officer still kept doing it, even though he clearly couldn't breathe. Even though the guy kept saying he's talking, he's fine, he's talking. Well, yes, he's talking because he knows that he's probably gonna die because, you shove your knee on his neck. And the part that angered me even more was after he stopped breathing, basically, after he stopped speaking whenever he passed out, or whatever exactly happened, I'm not really sure, because you get a lot of controversial things on the internet, so I'm not really sure, if he stopped breathing exactly, or if he was slowly dying at that point. But once he stopped talking, he was unconscious, passed out, whatever. And he still had his knee on his neck. I get that you have to detain the person that, you don't want them to come and attack you. But if they haven't moved and they haven't talked, okay, I know a lot of you who might be watching this aren't, any type of medical personnel, healthcare workers, anything like that. But if you put your hand on someone when they're breathing, you can feel, if you put it on their shoulder, just gently put it on their shoulder. If you're with someone, do it right now. But just put it, on their shoulder, right, either on their back or, right beside their neck, or maybe even on their chest if you want, or abdomen, whatever. You can feel, like, whenever they breathe, you can feel their body rising and falling. And so if you're on someone's neck, and, like, I don't know how he was doing it. Like, I kind of wish someone would kind of show me, like, position-wise what he was doing. But you can feel when someone's breathing. And so people said that he was straining to breathe, like he was trying to lift himself to breathe. Like, you can feel that. So how can someone do that? How can someone put their knee on their neck and feel that someone's straining underneath them, straining to breathe, and they just don't do anything? Like, my mind is like, what? Like, I don't know. I'm just so, like, my mind is so confused trying to figure out why that would be okay. And I mean, yes, I am going to admit that, I do feel that he's guilty and that he needs to be charged, and that George Floyd was, I don't know if he was innocent. I don't know. I don't know if he was or not. But the point of it is, he shouldn't have died that way. And I know a lot of people are going to say that I should feel that way because, I'm mixed race and everything, and a lot of times that I have seen with police, it's always the white person gets to go free and the black person doesn't. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're black or white. You don't put your knee on someone's neck and just let it go. You can't just keep doing it. Like, I can't imagine how that would feel, just like having someone underneath you and they're dying and you just keep doing it. Like, what the heck? I don't know if the police officer at that point was just like, so, like, maybe he was in a daze, maybe he was like, oh shoot, like, I'm doing this, now I can't stop. Or maybe I don't know the guy's story, I don't know him. And honestly, I'm very angry with him because he took a person's life like that. Even though you're a police officer, I don't care if it's your job or not, you don't need to use that much force. Like, that's ridiculous. And, part of me too, I'm kind of mixed up because I'm very angry with him, obviously, even though I'm not related to George Floyd in any way. He's still a person, either black or white, doesn't matter. I don't care. Person's a person. But I also can't help feeling bad for the police officer because, I mean, I don't know what he was feeling, but, like, I really want to know what happened, like, why. Because you don't just all of a sudden decide you're going to use this much force on a person. I mean, he was already controlled, like, there was no need for that extra force. Something happened, obviously, in his life to lead him to this. Like, he didn't just one day randomly decide, oh, I'm just gonna go with this black guy and just put my knee on his neck and wait till he stops breathing. Like, you don't just randomly do that. Something must have happened that triggered that. I don't know what it was. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything. But, I do wonder what led to that. Did he grow up in a very prejudiced family? Like, or was it just that he, like, I don't know. It's just confusing, and honestly, it's stressful because I want to know why. And I do wonder, too, if George Floyd had been white, would the police officer still have done the same thing? Or if the police officer had been black and he was white? Because a lot of times we want to say everything's about race, which this might be, I don't really know. Because we don't know how he feels about black people in general. Like, what was it? What was it about George Floyd that he did not like? Why did he choose him? Would he have chosen some other white man or some white lady? How do we know it's about race completely? Because literally, he hasn't said. And yes, at this point it is a race thing because, like, he, according to the news and everything, which I don't know, I can't see his face, but apparently he hasn't really shown much expression over the trial, the police officer, whenever they were doing the testimony and everything, and honestly, that really bothers me because I'm like, what is he feeling? Like, is he so depressed that he can't feel anything, like numb to everything? Or is he just like not remorseful at all, doesn't really care? I'm not guilty, so whatever kind of feeling? Like, I don't know. There's so many unknowns, and like, I mean, I definitely support that he's guilty, like I mentioned earlier, but I can't help wondering too that if the situation was reversed, if George Floyd was white, or maybe instead of being a man, it was a woman, would the guy have done the same thing to someone else? Did he? Excuse me. Basically, what I'm asking is, did Derek Chauvin, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, did the police officer specifically target George Floyd because he was black and a man? Like, what were his reasons? And of course, I'll never know. I don't know. I can't really go ask him, obviously. But that's my one thing that bothers me the most about this case, and like, oh, it's driving me nuts not knowing, because that would solve a lot of the problem, a lot of the tension. Because right now, since no one knows, we're assuming it's about race because we don't know. We don't know if it's specifically because George Floyd was black and the police officer was white. We don't know. So we have to assume that, because obviously that's what we see on the surface is a white police officer who's in authority over the black person, which the police officer is like the authority over anyone. Then, white versus black, and the black guy ends up getting killed. It's obviously that's what we're gonna see is race, and you can ask any black person, any white person. If they saw the video, they would definitely say it's about race. But, we don't know. We don't know what they were thinking. And, like, honestly, I don't even know. Like, it just bothers me that we don't know, and I wish we did. And, even after all this, whatever the jury decides, if it's, if he's guilty or not, which I believe he is, but that's a different story. Whatever they decide, like, the world's going to be upset either way. There again, because we don't know why. We don't know if it's about race. What if it's not about race and we're all protesting and killing people and, hating each other, and it's not even about race at all? What if it's just that, that Derek Chauvin, the police officer, was angry with whatever was going on with his life, and he just decided to take his anger out on someone else? We don't know. So, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. A lot of people, whenever I come up with issues like this, like, they get all upset because they see me as a white person because I look more white than black. And they're like, oh, well, why are you so upset? Like, you're white. And I'm like, I'm upset because George Floyd was a person. I don't care if he was white or black. Like, no person should be treated that way. No matter how angry you get. Like, the officer killed a person, And the part that frustrates me the most is the fact that George Floyd wasn't going to do anything. Like, he was already on the ground. He wasn't moving. And the officer just was like, okay, well, I'm just going to still stay right here. I totally understand self-defense and everything, and as an officer, you do have to defend yourself, and I'm sure there are lots of crazy criminals out there that do things that you have to use your common sense and use your training to defend yourself, because they want to kill you. Sometimes, they do. They want to go after a cop, and I can imagine what goes through their minds, the police officers' minds, when they have to make that decision. That person's gonna kill me, so I have to shoot them first, before they hurt me and hurt other people. And I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that feeling that stress and that panic, because if you make the wrong decision, then, it's going to be basically the end of your career. So, but, if you watch the video at all, which I wouldn't recommend watching it, if you're upset already beforehand. I also wouldn't recommend watching it if you have a child, or if you are a child watching this, don't watch it, please. It's really bad, and it's clear that in the video, George Floyd wasn't threatening them. He might have before the video, I don't know, we didn't see what went on before the video started. But, he wasn't doing anything, he was calm, he was chill. Like, after he was on the ground, you could have just handcuffed him, and there you go. Because there were, other people around, there were other officers around. So, they could have, worked together, and they could have got him down, which is totally fine. Get him on the ground if you have to. I don't think he was arguing with him, but whatever. Get him on the ground, put him in handcuffs. Put him in handcuffs. Whatever you have to do. But you don't have to put your knee on his neck to detain him. He's already down. You don't need to do that. Of course, this is my 2 cents from a blind person who's never seen any kind of police violence. So my opinion really doesn't matter in the wide world, but here it is. So I just wanted to put this out there because, I don't know if anyone else is feeling mixed up about it, but I sure am. Because I want answers, and I know they're not going to come. I want to know why, and I can't get that, obviously. And that bothers me, and I don't know if anyone else is feeling that way, but if you are, welcome to my world. You're feeling the same thing I am. And it's bothering me a lot, because I want to know what goes on in the police officer's mind when that happens, what he was thinking, if he even considered George Floyd as a person at the time, or if his mind was so wrapped up in whatever he was doing that he just didn't even think. I don't know. So if you're feeling all mixed up about this like I am, then welcome to my world. Because honestly, I totally want to join the protest. I do, because we're not equal. We're still fighting justice of all kinds, disability, equality of races, black versus white, Haitian versus white, Asian versus, everyone basically is fighting. And I want to join because it's not right. We keep saying that America's equal, but we're not there yet. But violence is not the answer. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know whatever the jury decides. But I know that people are going to get upset, and they're going to get angry, and they're going to do some things they wish they wouldn't have. They're going to start doing things like burning down buildings and tearing things apart. And honestly, I don't want to be a part of that, because violence is not going to solve the problem. It's just going to make it worse. And I'm not saying that everyone that goes to the protest is going to do that, because there will be some peaceful people. But, violence will happen. It's just going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to make it worse, because then everyone's going to say, oh, the people in the protest did it, so we're not going to trust them to make decisions or, lead a peaceful meeting between people. So, yeah. So I don't know if I want to join or not, so just still debating what I want to do, because, no matter what the outcome, people are going to be upset. And honestly, I can't blame on both sides. I see both sides of people being upset because he's guilty. So, the people, the police officer's family are upset, because that's their father or their husband or their son or whatever. And then if he isn't guilty, then the people who are thinking that this is all about race, which again we don't really know for sure, they're gonna be upset because they walk free. Just like a bunch of the other people, whenever it was actually about race, just like a bunch of other police officers and everything in the past, they've gotten to go free. So yeah, so you probably don't want to hear my 2 cents, but there it is. I apologize if this is kind of a rambling video, but just had to put my opinion out there. So yeah, so, here's where I stand on the whole thing right now. Of course, this is only Tuesday. They finished up yesterday with the whole closing arguments, and now today they're just waiting on the jury to decide. So yeah, so thank you all for watching. These are my 2 cents of random thoughts on the whole situation, and I'll probably make another video once the jury decides what they're doing. So thank you all for watching, and have a good rest of your day.